volunteers have done and what has been done with our patrons' gracious donations. Remember, our goal is 90% of a donation touching the mission, touching a veteran's life. We minimize administrative cost as much as we can, and we work with the blessings we receive. We are finishing up the last little bit of the day room. We got the bathrooms all set. We're not breaking ground on the next phase till after this event because it requires pulling down ceilings and drywall, and it just makes a big mess. So we want Pot Rush to look somewhat nice for our guests that will be coming. Big one that confirmed from last week in between, Dr. Catherine Epps. Some of you may have heard of her, some of you may not, but she is the director of the Reserve Component Transition Assistance Programs. So this is a person that needs to see what we're doing, because when we work together, more can be done. I want to personally thank all of our volunteers, the team behind this podcast, the team that comes to the Bob does the work, all of our volunteers. They all bring a skill, a voice to this mission that brings hope to veterans. I invite you to become a volunteer. If you email volunteer@projectdiehard.org, we will send you all the information you need so you can make an informed decision if you want to spend your valuable time helping us help veterans. I am grateful to all of our patrons. Remember, $22 a month or $22,000 doesn't matter to me. I don't know what people give. So all I can say is thank you and God bless for helping this mission. That's about the nutshell. Please, as we go through today's show, if you have a question, put it into the comments. The team will slide it into the DMs on our end, and we will ask our board, our people that are on the screen, our special guest after he is done telling us about him. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you all Mr. Alan Bridges, an Air Force veteran. So, again, you got to forgive him, but us Army guys, we thank him for the ride. Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for your mission and let me talk to him and help provide hope for their future.
Well, brother, teamwork makes the dream work. So, tell all of our followers a little bit about yourself. You told me Air Force.
Sure. I was an Air Force rescue and special operations pilot. I flew guys like you as a bus driver to a bad neighborhood and ideally came back on time to bring you out of that bad neighborhood, Brian.
Those Pavlos, I love those guys.
Yep, that's where I flew. So they're all retired now, but like me, I'm retired too, and flew a little bit on the outside, like you mentioned, and now I'm been 4 years as a financial advisor, working with another veteran who owns a business, Michael Pinnica. So we'd like to serve our veterans in town here in Colorado Springs. We have clients across the country too.
Okay, so tell us more about your business and how you help our brothers and sisters.
Well, we'll work with any size client. They don't have to have a large, checkbook or large assets for start working with us. So if they've gotten out of the military, we can help them as they start and their civilian jobs. We can describe and educate them on what the civilian options are for their retirement planning. We can help them figure out, ideally before they get out, what type of life insurance might help them. Because once they have that Veterans Administration disability rating, it could be more difficult to serve their life insurance needs. And then here in the local area, we support several different veterans facing organizations.
Okay, so I've been doing this a minute, and one thing I have seen, because we help veterans get their benefits. We have veteran service officers and contacts that we, right? And they get that back pay, you know, and that can be a very large sum. I've seen some of our brothers and sisters buy that new fancy sports car, or, you know, what would you say to them?
Well, for many of them, if they could allocate part of that to the fund, you know, if they want to go out and buy the sports car, and they can do that with a small percentage, or, you know, ideally that money that came to them, it did not come with interest. The government's not going to give them back pay with the interest they could have earned, so they still need to catch up a little bit. So if they could put that into some type of, you know, managed fund, or that helps them grow for the future, and allocate that, while they still have a little bit of fun money to play with.
Yeah, I mean, since, you know, usually when you do 20 years, you're on the younger side of life. So you get to enjoy life a little bit.
That's good.
You know? So you've heard of us. What questions can I answer about Project Diehard to you, so you can help spread this mission?
Well, I appreciate the reading about it, and I've found a couple of your ambassadors that just met one more tonight, and hearing about your mission. I guess as you spread across the country, it'd be great to keep linked in with you, and potentially, like you mentioned, we could do some classes on financial education for them.
Yeah, again, teamwork makes the dream work, right? As we were talking before the show, if more of us veteran nonprofits would seriously sit down and talk to one another, we all have our programs, our niche in this big pie, right? That if we
Yes,
all brought it together, we would all eat pretty well.
and could save more veterans and serve them to improve their futures.
Yeah, again, save our brothers and sisters, the veterans of America, the ones that wrote the blank check.
Absolutely.
We had Veterans Day this last weekend, right? I was at an event, and this civilian, well, where's all your medals? I said, my medals don't mean jack, man. I don't need to wear them.
We don't need to brag about ourselves. That's not what most of us are not about that, Brian.
No, we're not. We're not. And he couldn't quite comprehend that. Like, no, man, a true professional doesn't want to get known. You know?
When I served in Air Force Special Ops Command, one of the taglines was the quiet professionals. So if we're out there being loud, that's not very quiet, is it?
No. When we call you guys in, it's already loud enough. We don't need any more noise.
No. I appreciate that viewpoint, Brian. Out here too, I don't see very many veterans puffing their chest up and wearing their medals out in public like that.
Usually the ones you see there were the how do we put this? In the rear with the gear.
Could have been, sure, but
Yeah. Not against them, they served, but don't overinflate what you did. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That reminds me of a young water purification specialist. I was at a VFW event once, and they were honoring her, right, just for hometown and everything. And she saw me, and she goes, "I don't deserve this." And I go, "What do you mean you don't deserve this? You just came back from Iraq. What do you mean you don't deserve this?" She goes, "I'm just a water purification specialist." I said, "Really? Hmm. Well, when I spend my time in Iraq, I like the clean water I got to drink." I said,
pretty crucial.
don't ever underestimate your part of the team. That little bit will help the bigger picture. I try to stress that to our volunteers all the time. Don't think that little bit you're doing isn't helping, because it is. It builds, it rotates, it rolls, it grows, every little bit helps. All right, well, I'm going to bring in one of our ambassadors, because we do this from time to time, and I'm going to let her ask you a couple questions.
Sounds good, Brian.
So let's bring in Jennifer, our ambassador in Texas. Say hi to everybody, Jennifer.
Good evening, everybody.
Okay, remind them about who you are, what you do for us out in Texas.
Yes, so I'm in the Houston, Texas area. I work remotely with Project Diehard as an ambassador, but I work at a higher level trying to take it national and global as a ambassador. We are always looking for opportunities with people, and we are always looking for sponsorship and everything else. That's different things. I basically go out to work with other people and find different types of donations with other people to somehow give to the veterans.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate what you do for the project.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
And
yes. She has
so here's, go ahead.
she has a servant's heart. Go ahead. We're still working this out. Your chance
Yeah.
to talk to Alan.
Yeah, so were you saying that you were in only life insurance, or do you do insurance in general?
We do life insurance, health insurance for long-term care type plans, but I don't do other types of property or casualty or business insurance.
Okay, so with those, is your predominant focus veterans, or is that just a part of your target market?
That's just a part of it. But in Colorado Springs, a large part of the population is either active duty or veterans. So, not over half, but over a fourth is veteran related in Colorado Springs.
Very good. I know a lot of veterans myself, so they seem to be all around the Houston area. And I run into them not knowing them. But I was laughing at some of those things you were talking about, because some of the guys I know that were veterans served in Vietnam, and they still to this day go around wearing their badges and everything else, their Purple Hearts and stuff.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you, Brian. That's
yeah.
If they earned it, that's cool.
Yeah, that's outstanding. A Purple Heart. Yeah, wear that bad boy, because that's important. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I put on all my ribbons, I start up here and go all the way down to here. 26 years. Okay. Some of them was for pushing paper the right way. A Purple Heart's a totally different ball game. Wear that with pride. But
Yeah, that's why I see a lot in my area, and they often
That's
have
awesome.
the car tags that have the Purple Heart on the back, and
oh yeah,
That's awesome. They earned that the hard
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, that's one where all the time. But you understand what I was talking about earlier, right? Was you see them, you're a veteran or you're not, right?
right.
And this is just, and again, I'm not picking on my brothers and sisters, but all year long, you never know they were a veteran until it comes to the free Applebee meal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I missed that the past weekend. Darn it. I forgot that again, Brian.
Yeah. But you see what I mean? All year long, they hide the fact that they actually stood up and went, I do solemnly swear. I don't know why they're ashamed of it. Right?
Right.
I don't know why. But when it comes to that free Texas Roadhouse mini steak, they'll put on every award they ever got just to prove the fact, so they can get a free meal. And again, there's nothing wrong with the free meal we offer at our fellowship breakfast to veterans, right?
Right.
So I have nothing against it, but take pride, brothers and sisters. You served, you earned it. Tell the world. That's the biggest problem I see in the veterans' issues out here. We make such a small portion of the population, 6.4%. But if we all came together, we would have a voice. Let's talk about veteran issues, right? Housing and healthcare and all this. If we all came together, we would have a voice.
That's true, but definitely there are some of us who are more of a spokesperson than others, so we need team effort.
Oh, yeah. Again, today, Chase Motorsports here in Paducah, Kentucky. If you look at our Facebook page, I went down and presented them with their mission supplier plaque for their wall. That's a Patriot-owned company, right? These two young men who own this motorsports, motorcycles and accessories and all that, understand what me, Alan, our brothers and sisters have done, right? And that's why they help the mission. And again, we recognize those who help us.
Very true.
Yeah. And we got veteran-owned companies that help us, Patriot-owned companies, and we're always looking for more teammates. So you said earlier, like me personally, I'm 100% retired. I'm pretty good on my life insurance, I think.
That's good.
Am I? I don't know.
I was going to say that's something I would think that only you know, but with the accounting background, it would depend upon, the income and budget and other things compared to your lifetime. I mean, your life insurance value as far as what it provides to the loved ones compared to your debt and other things. That's how you know if it's really good.
$500,000. I think I'm happy.
Well, true. You'd think they would be, but then that comes down to the relativity, which is for someone that has a $1 million house, that's not a good plan.
Or if they have, 3 or 4 kids try to go through college
Exactly.
and the house is not paid off, or that's where Ryan would like to work with individuals and say, what do you need? How can we help you get there? And do some analysis on that, because some people have survivor benefit plan, the SBP program, survivor benefit, the pension for our spouses. And so that can definitely change whether you need more life insurance or less. Other people look at the survivor benefit plan and say, well, there's alternatives to that on the outside too. So
again, brothers and sisters, this is a guy you need to talk to. Okay? Because we have our loved ones. Alan here he ain't gonna flim-flam you.
no,
right?
It's not what we do.
You don't make it to this podcast without going, Alan didn't make it here because, it's a whim. Okay. Jennifer talked to him before. Emily, Kurt talked to him. Before you make it to this screen right here, boys and girls, you're going to be asked some hard questions. You're going to prove your worth to the veteran community. That's why when I say we have special guests and we don't tout them out, we're not here just to get, the wow factor. Alan here has a ton of knowledge in his head that can help you, help your loved ones. This is our mission. I don't know about health insurance, life insurance. That's not my gig, man. But that's Alan's, a fellow veteran who wants to take care of you. So what's next? Come on. Did you know?
Other questions, Jennifer?
Yes, how about expanding on each of those insurances and what factors people need to consider to make sure they have all three?
Well, as far as the property and casualty or life and health, that kind of stuff? Or which three?
Right, because
Sorry, just wanna make sure.
there's unequal access to health care. So you said you do health insurance, but a lot of people don't know how or if at all they can get insurance while having pre-existing conditions, which is common among even veterans to say they come back from war and they have PTSD. So how do they get insurance?
Absolutely. So I should clarify that I have my health insurance license, but I don't do health insurance except a very specific long-term care part of it. Long-term care falls under the health insurance umbrella. So many products these days for life insurance, you can add on a long-term care component. And that's how it falls under health insurance. I don't open up plans and myself. We have people in our contact sphere that have health insurance plans, so we can refer veterans to them. And like Brian was talking about, we vet them too in our contact sphere and make sure that they're righteous people and going to help them veterans. But that we'll focus on life insurance with if they need long-term care. Again, for veterans, often we could get in, like Brian and I could get into Veterans Administration homes around here if we needed to. So we may not have the same need that our spouse would. So sometimes the spouse needs it when the veteran doesn't. That's
true. Like in the case of where my dad had long-term disability for his end of his life, basically, because the company he worked for, that's one of the long-term benefits of staying there until retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he became disabled, he had that long-term disability check that sustained his livelihood that was 2/3 of what he made in his last so many years, instead of being like what Social Security pays. And then when he passed away in July, now it supports as a portion of what was my dad's long-term disability. A portion goes to support my stepmom that keeps her around because she can't work anymore. So
That's
it
great.
is important as far as the making sure you have some kind of benefit that helps those who surpass you and not just while you're in the world.
Absolutely.
Well, as Alan said, veterans, we have VA facilities. In fact, Marion, Illinois is reopening their long-term care. They got 14 beds that due to COVID, they had just shut down that wing, but now they're reopening it. So they'll be able to bring in 14 veterans for long-term care. These are the elderly, the hospice type long-term.
That's great.
They're just breaking ground on 10 more. And love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So Jennifer, sorry for your father's loss or your family's loss. I know your stepmother, a lot of times we mention our spouses, they might need the long-term care coverage because for a long time they provided the care to their loved one. And statistics say that often the provider of the care needs long-term care themselves sooner rather than later.
That's true, and I can very well see that in her situation. So you have a very important point for listeners, especially veterans, to consider, because if they serve that 20 years and then they retire from the military, but they take on a civilian life career, then they're retired, but they're not at the same time. But they still need to, even though they're back working only in the civilian life, they still need to consider those long-term expenses and the long-term needs to, like you said, to get life insurance with the long-term care, so they can basically be there in their afterlife for their family in some way through what they took actions during their time.
You mentioned the transition too, Jennifer and Brian. You found your transition, or perhaps this found you. Or for many of us, we go on to have a career with someone outside the military or outside the government. And we're happy to talk with veterans about their options, what could they do with their thrift savings plan balance, or what should they do, just what their options are. Because sometimes they can roll it into a new employer's plan. They should always contribute enough, if they can afford it, and contribute enough in the new employer's plan to get the match. So that's free money.
Oh yeah, that's the thrift savings plan. That's a great program for us on active duty. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yes. And I was going to say, actually, some of that, which is getting the employer to match your savings, is something that even civilian life needs to do. That I deal a lot with in accounting and finance, that people are like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll just give my Social Security check when I retire. And then, nope, they can't sustain their livelihood.
yeah, you can't.
It's not designed to. It's only designed to support about 40% of their pre-retirement income, or provide about that or less. So it's, yes.
Yeah, it's even worse, like my son, traumatic brain injury, 100%, right?
Ouch.
Took us 2 years to get the VA rating, and then another 3 years to get the Social Security rating. That's why, brothers and sisters, you need to reach out. We'll put you in contact with Alan here. You got to take care of yourself.
Brian, we talked a little bit about if they get that situation where they do get back pay, they may be, thinking that it's just a free money and they should go splurge. But ideally, they should pay off their debts. We didn't discuss that before the podcast, but pay off some of that debts, because waiting 2 years and 3 years, that's 5 years of less money than you should have been getting. Easy to rack up some debts. Great to pay them down.
That's what I did with mine, because just me personally, my son, he moved back in with us. So, but it took the VA a year and a half to determine if the 10 pounds of titanium in my spine were service related. Okay. So I'm retired out. I got my pension. My pension is half of what I made on active duty.
Most people don't know that. They think that their pension will be somewhere around what they made.
Oh no.
Right. That's part of the accounting and finance things that we have to get out there, right, Alan?
Educate people on what to expect, whether it's the pension or their Social Security.
Yeah, but again, when you retire out, you get half of your base pay.
And none of those allowances you got.
Yeah, you lose your housing allowance, your food allowance, clothing allowance. There's
overseas housing allowance, overseas allowance if you're listed, the COLA if you were overseas, retired from there. So
yeah. So again, this is why it's very important that brothers like Alan here are willing to give up his time to help you guys. This is a tool for you. Use it. Don't call me, because I'm just going to send you to Alan. Okay? But guys, this is part of our mission. This is what we do, is we bring people here who can help veterans. Now, if you're a patriot, right? Okay, reach out to Alan. I'm sure he'll talk to you about what I don't know, but he'll talk to you. You know, us veterans, we have a different lingo and mannerisms, but I think Alan's well versed to deal with civilians. He was in the Air Force.
I was a chairborne ranger in Army speak.
There you go. Actually, folks, he flew missions to evacuate my patients. Okay? He was a pilot in the medevac world. So let me explain the cojones this guy's got. I'm on the ground. He's flying in when the bullets are flying. He's flying in. They can see him coming. We get cover and concealment on the ground, but no, that thing makes a lot of noise and whirls and dust and all that. So this guy's got some cojones. I tip my hat to you, brother. I really do.
Well, appreciate you saving all our brothers out there, brothers and sisters' lives with your medical skills, Brian.
Thanks.
Thanks.
That's the easy part. That nice golden hour is the key. If I can get them off the battlefield, and again, you medevac pilots are a crazy breed, but I've also had an Apache pilot, because you know how the Apache sets up. We took a Stokes basket, tied it on just so he could get a wounded out.
That's awesome.
You know, everybody goes, "That's what a medevac." Yeah, it is. Stokes basket right there, strap them down, get them out. But that Apache pilot came down and said, "Hey, put them on." It was critical. Yeah, that's part of this thing too, is so we can tell stories and fellowship and talk. What was your
Storytelling is pretty important.
What was your hairiest pickup?
I didn't have them where they were shooting at me, Brian, but the hairiest was trying to stay away from the rigging of a ship that was a French sailing ship. This is no one shooting at you, but trying to pick up a guy who suffered a heart attack off that ship. So we dropped a couple of pararescue guys in the water. They got boated over to the ship. They used a tagline just so we could stay clear of all the rigging, because fishing vessels have a lot of rigging. So we got the guy off and flew him back. We had a couple of air refuelings.
Oh, that's cool. And that's hard, right? Those nice little steel cables that hold up all the rigging, and helicopter blades don't mix.
No, we made sure that they didn't mix that day, so we stayed well away, but it worked out well. So that brings me back to this story on how I tore up this shoulder the first time. We were doing sling operations, and one of my Joes didn't ground out the bird. ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, he got hit. He got tied up in the webbing, so I reached out like a good NCO, grabbed him, tried to pull him out, and it pulled this whole shoulder out.
Jennifer helicopters generate a lot of static electricity. We can have a ground wire going down to the ground when you're doing cargo ops like that. If you don't have it touching all the time, in just seconds, less than 10 seconds, it can build up enough static electricity. When you touch the bird in between you and the ground, you get a lot more than a little carpet shock from walking across carpet, and it'll knock you on your butt.
Yeah,
That's what he's talking
I think
about.
it's been compared to lightning before.
No, it's not that bad, but it's
Well, and that's what it is, but it's been compared like.
It's a percentage. So
yeah, it's a very, very, very small percent of lightning, because I've had to, I believe it or not, even in the Army, I had to treat a couple lightning strikes
Yeah.
stationed down in Georgia. They weapons on their backs in lightning storms. Guess what happens?
Because
Carry on.
Okay. So yeah,
Yeah, you carry on because just because there's a lightning storm going on doesn't mean war or whatever is over.
yeah. So, but it happens. Yeah, the helicopter stuff is no. Trust me, your hair's gonna stand on end for about a day, but yeah, you're gonna have all your toes. Because I remember one soldier, all the toes on his left foot when he got hit went pop 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 pop. Because that was the ground. That's where the
was
light.
it the toenails?
Yep.
Oh my gosh! Ouch!
Yeah.
That's painful.
Yeah. But lightning takes the easiest way to the ground, and
Right, and I was going to say, and there's power in stories like that because how many people who may be listening to the show or watching it aren't necessarily veterans themselves, but in stories like that, they can understand what veterans went through or do go through, maybe even right now in different wars we have going on. But still, that how many people don't understand what they go through? That's
like,
painful, suffering.
we're, we're coming up on the holidays, right? How many vet? I lost count of how many Christmases and New Years I didn't get to spend with my family because I was over somewhere in a country somewhere. How many of those young men and women that are currently putting on the uniform are having to do that? Right?
I appreciate their service.
Yeah. But again, this is where our mission at Project Diehard is so important. Because when they're done with their service and they need to come back to the world, that's what our facilities are there for. Look, some of my brothers and sisters don't need any help at all. They can hang up the uniform and just go, right? But some need that respite, need that year of not having to worry about the electric bill, the water bill, the laundry bill, but the heel biting stuff.
For sure, especially if they don't have a spouse at home to take care of that.
Yeah. But even again, we're bringing in veterans with their families because the family unit is important.
But on that topic, there's also kind of a cross between what we're talking about with helping them while they're away. What about if they don't have a spouse but they have kids?
If they're a single parent, usually they do not deploy. They have to have a family care plan in place. There's a lot of hoops to go through for a single parent to go downrange. Okay.
Jennifer, I know that in some of my fellow retired service members here in Colorado Springs have visited their kids to help them on that situation when they had to deploy, and the family care plan, they say, hey, if you give me deployment orders, I'm calling mother-in-law or dad or whoever. But they do have to have that. Now, ideally, they don't have to exercise that very often. It's predictable deployments, but family care plans are a very important part of military readiness.
Do you work with family care plans?
I do not. It's something that the active duty or reserve folks have to, or Air National Guard, Army National Guard, they have to have the family care plan that works for their family. It's who would you call if we send you orders tonight or tomorrow? That's what a family care plan covers.
Yeah, and Air Force is a little bit more lenient on it. Army, we're strict on it because we rotate quicker, right? And our deployments usually aren't planned because an Air Force unit could do a 6-month rotation to Italy.
Yeah.
Right? That's just that. That's, but usually when we go, we don't get to take families with us.
They probably won't want to go visit where you're going either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's like some of our modern day wars and disagreements with all the chaos where civilians themselves are dying and not just the people in the military that are
Right.
fighting. So then you really might want your loved one to come, to wherever you are for deployment.
Again, I feel sorry for everybody involved in war. Right? I really do. It's a nasty thing. But the times of armies marching out onto a field and shooting one another are long over. Okay. Civilians. I know the American Army. We do everything in our power to limit civilian casualties. Right? But I hate to tell you this, terrorists don't think that way.
Not at all.
They don't think that way at all. They want to create as much carnage and whatever they can. But again, that rolls me back to why Project Diehard needs your support. Because our young men and women go and do things that no human should have to do. Blatantly, they shouldn't, but they have to protect the innocent, to protect America, to protect the rights thereof. They do it freely.
Brian,
Yeah.
that's why I'm glad that there's organizations like Project Diehard and some others in the Colorado Springs area down in Houston that support our veterans when they come home. They can reach out for that support. No stigma attached to that, reaching out, because we know that more people need it than probably get it, frankly. And so if they're in the Colorado Springs area, we can connect them to resources around here. They're in another state, and Jennifer down in Texas. So I know that
Definitely.
other ambassadors in other states, we can have our local networks as well as Project Diehard. So like you said, teamwork makes the dream work. We can all cooperate. That'll make it easier.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest thing about Project Diehard. We invite other people to help, right? Like people ask, how many veterans do you help? Are we housing any? Not right now because we're not up to code, right? But we have a very extensive network. A veteran does not go without getting help when they call us. Right? And we just don't say, oh, here's a number, call them. No. We call our resource partners and say, here is Alan. Alan needs this. You specialize in this. Here's Alan. We do that warm handoff. That's the biggest thing. That's one of the things I hate about the bureaucracy. Here's a number to dial. But why don't you dial it for the veteran?
Make that three-way call.
Yeah, well, why don't you sit on hold for an hour and a half for the VA to get a dental appointment? Why are you asking the veteran to do that? Haven't they given enough?
Oh, yes.
All right, well, I see Sue is backstage. Do we want to bring her in? Because we got a few more minutes. And I got a question this week from patron on the good old interweb. And I always love Sue's response to these questions. There she is. Sue is another ambassador. But why, and this question was posed to me, but you guys got the good answer. Please explain to our followers why we will take a veteran with their family for up to a year. Please explain that to them, because that's the question. Why do you do that? Do you know how much that costs? Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know that? And I'm trying my best, but you guys can probably explain it better. But that's the question. Why do we do veterans with families? Sue, you go first since you just got here.
Why? Why is a really good question, which is a really simple answer, because they need that space. They need the ability to do what they need for themselves, for their family. They need that opportunity because they don't have it right now. If they were fine and didn't need the help, then they wouldn't be on the doorstep. There is a reason why they are where they are, and it may or may not be anybody's fault. It's just sometimes there's a situation where it just is, and they need that hand to get to where they need to go. And the fact that this exists, that Project Diehard is available, is going to make that massive difference. Because when somebody's at that point, they really do need somebody to reach out their hand and say, I'm here, I gotcha, let's work this together. Let's, what do you need? What do you need? And that's what Project Diehard is. That is that piece of, somebody's really in a rough spot. They need that help. They're at that moment in their life. And that's where this organization is that blessing for them.
Okay. So solid point, solid point. Jennifer, what do you got?
Well, as far as I know, and a lot of people are not very aware of this, a larger portion of the homeless people are actually veterans. And so that's a need that's in the literal sense and not just a strong desire for housing, especially transitional, where they get time in Fall Brush to settle in that certain place on Fall Brush for a while, to then go somehow get a job or do whatever that transitions them to independence.
Okay. Alan, you got anything to input onto that question that people keep asking me?
I think it's the generosity of your patrons that allows you to do that, because it's a significant financial contribution, but it allows them to have time to get back on their feet for their best possible future.
All good, solid answers. Now, I want to tell the universe or whatever why that decision was made to bring a veteran and their family. Was it 2019? Project Diehard gets a phone call from a veteran. The veteran goes, I hear you help veterans. Well, we do our best with what we have, right? What do you need? And he started him-hawing, me being a good NCO. I chased the rabbit down the hole. We do that. And I come to find out, here is a veteran. And I hate to say this to you, Ellen, but he was an Air Force veteran with a wife and 3 kids living in a minivan. So why do we bring veterans and their families? Why are we willing to do that? Because there is a need out there. That's why. That's what I got on that. Right? Everybody wants these big egg-brained ideas on why, and that's why. Is that a solid enough reason?
I think so. I was going to say, the way I see it is they served us, so now we need to serve them.
Yeah, the veteran, but the family.
They serve too a lot of times, Brian,
Yeah.
where they get dragged to and supported, and they're supporting their veteran, so they serve too in a different way.
Yeah.
Well, and they can be more needy in certain ways because of instability. It could cause stuff like PTSD, even for the children of the veteran.
I can't. Yes, it can. Right? Or, in my eyes, here's a veteran living in a minivan with a wife and 3 kids. Well, how they got there, I don't care. But there's a stress of, my family can't be living like this. I'm a failure. Well, no, you're not. You ran on some hard times. Okay? Don't ever give up. I can't stress that enough when I talk to my brothers and sisters. Don't ever give up.
But do speak up.
Yeah, do speak up. Look, it's okay to say, I'm not okay. It's okay to do that, brothers and sisters. I've done it. I've stood there and said, hey, I'm not okay. Even to this day, I'm not okay. You can ask my team. I'm a little on the tilted side. But they love me anyway. I don't know why, but they do. Okay? But every once in a while, my team actually comes back to me and says, hey, Brian, you want to think about that? And that's why I love them. Because they're honest, they're true, and they're not afraid to hear bad things. They're willing to take it on. So, in closing, because we got 1 minute left, we did better than last week. We're getting there. Anybody have any last words for our followers, our veterans, our patrons? What do you got?
I think I would just echo what you said. When they need help, reach out for it. There are a lot of people out there that want to help them, and just by asking for help does not mean they're a failure. We need help, and sometimes the strongest people in the world are the ones who ask for help when they know they need it.
And don't fear it, because that's why Project Diehard is here to hear it.
Oh, I like that. We're going to steal that.
Do like that too. Yeah. It takes a community. It always does. And people are here for you, whether it's easy to see or hard to see. We're here. You just got to open your eyes and take a look. Help is there. Whatever it is you need, help is available.
Okay. Diehard 6 here, look, people, share this video. Tell everybody about us. That's the only way we grow. Stay strong. If you have a question, reach out. If you need to reach Alan, reach out. Right? That's how we work. Until next week, Diehard 6 and the Diehard team says thank you, God bless, and we will see you next week with another guest. And of course, Alan, you're welcome back anytime you want to be here.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you, Jennifer and Sue.
Yes,
Everybody wait. Hi, Dan, take us out.